rather than a human spiritual teacher. Our contemporary knowledge of the Gospel of Mark dates back to 1958, when an American professor of theology, Dr. Morton Smith, discovered references to it in a letter by Clement, preserved in a desert monastery. According to Smith, the inner teachings of Jesus were passed by him to his disciples during the initiation rite, which resembled those of the pagan mysteries. Smith interprets the ritual communion meal practiced by early Christians as a pagan rite descended from the mysteries of Isis and Osiris. It was this esoteric interpretation of Christianity which was accepted by the medieval secret societies rather than the version offered by the church. After a brief lapse to pagan worship during the reign of Julian, the Christian religion quickly reestablished itself in Rome, and under the Emperor Theodosius, 378 to 395 AD, the worship of the old pagan gods was finally prohibited. The ideological battle between the popes and the Roman emperors they created raged for several hundred years. The point where we can discern the beginning of these secret societies' influence in this power struggle was in the reign of Frederick II, crowned as Holy Roman Emperor in 1215. With his death in 1250, the Holy Roman Empire collapsed. The Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, in the First Lodge in Carolina in the United States, received its charter from Frederick of Prussia. For 20 years, Europe was devastated by war until, in 1273, the concept of the old empire was revived with the crowning of a new Holy Roman Emperor, Count Rudolf von Habsburg, or Habsburg, meaning Castle of Hawks, in Austria. For the next 300 years, under the patronage of the Vatican, the Habsburgs extended their empire throughout Europe, based on their temporal power and the spiritual power of the Roman Catholic. They're trying to convince us that times were no good during the 50s and the early 60s, and that's a lie. And those of us who lived during that period know that it was the best time in the history of this country for the common man. Everyone had work if they wanted it. The American dream was becoming realized by more people than ever before in the history of this country. And what's happening now? The American dream, just since that time, has disappeared for most young people, who, unless they really strike it rich or get into a profession that really jerks the money out of people's pockets, they have no hope of owning their own home for many, many, many years, if ever. Most people in every family now have to work, and the children are relegated to government-controlled daycare centers. They are, in fact, occupationally orphaned as you struggle just to keep food on the table and a roof over your heads and be able to have a little bit left over for some recreation once in a while. And I'm continuing with the article. The successful alliance between the Habsburgs and the Vatican was seriously weakened by the actions of one man, a crusading reformer who used the symbol of the Rose and Cross on his personal seal. He was the German monk Martin Luther. When I revealed that Martin Luther was a member of the Rosy Cross, the Order of the Rosy Cross, and that his personal seal was the Rose and Cross, you should see the piles of letters I got from Protestants who blindly revere this man without knowing anything about him, chastising me for revealing to them the truth. But folks, you can write all the letters you want. You will always get the truth on the hour of the time. We may make some mistakes now and then, and if we do, as we always have done in the past, I will come on the air and correct those mistakes. But we never, ever intentionally give you anything that is untrue. Remember that. Martin Luther's personal seal was the Rose and the Cross, and he was, in fact, a member of the Order of the Rosy Cross. Martin Luther, the man whom many revere as the founder of the Protestant movement. The Reformation, allegedly supported by the Rosicrucians and other secret societies who opposed the Catholic Church, swept through Europe. This period of the Reformation represents a key time in history during which the relationship between the Church and the secret societies changed. Changed, folks. With the Reformation, you see, the Church was faced with an enemy within, which it could not destroy without bringing down its own edifice. With the Reformation, the whole concept of organized religion in Europe was revolutionized overnight. And where there had been one church, now today, there are literally tens of thousands, all with different dogma, different interpretations, all professing to be the only true church, with the only truth, and with the only claim to heaven. But if you only knew. Many think that the secret societies were instrumental in this revolution. I can tell you absolutely for a fact that they were. Support from the Grand Masters was offered to the religious reformers because the Reformation was recognized as a means to weaken the influence of the Catholic Church in European affairs. In America, sad to say, much of the Catholic hierarchy has taken on this role in modern times. The Reformation effectively emasculated the political power of the Church. It laid the foundation for the Puritan movement, whose members fled religious persecution in Europe to found a new nation in the Americas based on spiritual principles drawn from Rosicrucian sources, and all of our founding fathers were members of these secret societies. And many people have also chastised me for making that claim, but it is easily proved. Easily. The problem with most of you people is you believe blindly what you're told, and you never check anything. Many of you still believe that George Washington chopped down a cherry tree, and when his father asked him who did it, he told the truth. Well, that's all a lie, folks. There was no cherry tree. He never chopped one down. His father never asked him if he did. And I really don't know if he would have told the truth or not. Most politicians don't. Most politicians do not. It also provided an atmosphere of open-mindedness which allowed the seeds of the Renaissance to flower based on the best ideas of the pagan classical world. Although the Habsburgs were to rule for another 300 years until 1806, the Reformation destroyed any hope of a united Europe controlled by the Roman Catholic Church until today. Above everything else, the religious reforms of the 16th century marked the beginning of the period when the Church became determined to exterminate the secret societies which had weakened its power base. I'm not aware that the Vatican has changed its policy one iota from this. In fact, its determination has doubled over the past 150 years, even though today the secret societies flourish in America, and with only a wink from the American Catholic Church bishops. In fact, the Jesuit Society was formed to combat this from another secret order of Illuminati, or the Ilumbrados, in Spain. The head of this group was Ignatius Loyola, who was in fact arrested by the Inquisition. He used his influence with powerful people to gain an audience with the Pope. He went in on his knees and walked out on his 2 legs with a papal bull, granting him immunity from prosecution, from the Inquisition, from any king, queen, country, or law, save one, the Pope. And he was to found a new order, the Society of Jesus, now known as the Jesuits. See the Oath of a Secret Society, which makes up a chapter in my book. And you will see that they are sworn to destroy the Protestant movement and Protestants wherever they can find them. Above everything else, the religious reforms of the 16th century marked the beginning of the period when the Church became determined to exterminate the secret societies which had weakened its power base. The secret societies, though they claim to follow the precepts of Jesus Christ, actually provide an alternative version of spirituality to their followers. They deny the divinity of Jesus Christ. They deny that he was the Son of God, or was in actuality the incarnated God upon this earth, that he died, or that he was resurrected, or that he sits upon the right hand of the throne of God. Instead, he has become an ascended master, a teacher, and Christ has become an office which anyone can attain. You too can become a Christ in the New World Order. They actually provide this alternative version of spirituality, and it is the foundation of what you know today as the New Age movement. They allege that the church had deliberately subverted the teachings of Jesus and teach that there are other sources of spiritual knowledge which are as valid as Christian belief and predated it by thousands of years. In 1738, the first papal bull to combat Freemasonry was issued by Pope Clement XII. This bull threatened any Catholic who became a Mason with excommunication, at that time an extremely serious punishment. In fact, nothing worse could be imagined. In the 1870s, claims that secret societies such as the Illuminati were using Freemasonry as a cover for radicalism and revolution gave the church fresh charges to level against the Masonic lodges.